Matt Bernie, you're looking at graded stakes action from Woodbine on Queen's Plate Saturday. Race number 6, the Grade 2 King Edward. It's a one-turn mile on the outer turf course up at Woodbine. Before we dive into the field, head on over to bets.drf.com. Get all the latest and greatest as far as new sign-up offers are concerned for new members, existing member offers, all sorts of stuff. Doesn't matter who you are. There's something there for everyone. Bets.drf.com is where you need to go for all the details. Let's take a look at the field traveling the 8 furlong distance on the outer turf course. One-turn mile in the King Eddie. All eyes on the number 2 Synchrony. From Mike Stidham, Javier Castellano has the mount. Highest last out buyer in the field with a 101. Highest last out raw time form rating with a 124. Tough luck lost to Almanar down in the Monmouth Stakes at Monmouth Park on May the 25th. An argument could be made that this horse Synchrony should have been put up, because Almanar was drifting out pretty considerably down the lane. Ultimately, there was no change made. Synchrony is the horse that they're all going to need to beat. A little bit of an interesting spot here. First time he'll be going this sort of one-turn configuration. Some horses take to it, some horses don't. He's been a quality horse for quite some time. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he just took to this like a duck takes to water. But it's a little bit of an unknown. And if he's going to be in that 4 to 5 even money range, he's 7 to 5 in the morning line, I'm not way against him, but there's another horse in here that I've been waiting to come back and run since his most recent race. So Synchrony, I'll pick him second. I respect him. He can certainly win this race, deserves to be the favorite. I'm going to go against him. Number 1, Vanish, is a nice horse for Vito Armada. This is a horse that feels like he lives kind of in that middle claiming range, 40,000, 50,000 range. When they test him against better horses, he can't quite pass the acid test. He did run second in the Play the King last year. That was at 7/8 of a mile over a yielding turf course, very testing. He was $1,000,000 to 1 that day. I think he's going to be a giant price in a spot like this again, and frankly, I think he probably deserves to be a giant price in a spot like this because I don't think he quite stacks up as well as some of the other horses do. He's an interesting horse, though, as far as his tactics are concerned, because you take a look at him at face value, you assume he's going to be coming from a little bit farther off of it because of his most recent run at 6.5 on the synth. But he has been able to stay a little bit closer to relatively swift fractions in the past. Let's take a look and see where the Timeform US Pace Projector puts him in this race. He is listed in 5th behind a blue bar. Now, if the pace is that slow, I think he's going to be a little bit closer because, to be honest, I think the only way he can win this race is by being into the run and getting into it early on. So, look, are his chances great? No. I do find the Pace Projector intriguing, though, because they have the 4 Savage Battle out there on the front end, and this is a horse that typically is a few lengths off the pace. Now, keep in mind, most of his runs recently have come at 5.5 furlongs, so this distance can be a little bit of a test for him stretching out. In the Connaught Cup most recently, I would stress and urge to anyone handicapping this race, go back and watch the tape for the Connaught Cup, because this is a horse that had zero chance to run at any point in the race. At the very end, he's able to get out. He comes with a little bit of a late run, but it was way too late at that point. I think that race is considerably better than it looks. I think he was going to run. He was just pocketed up and had nowhere to go. Is he good enough to beat a horse like Synchrony? It seems unlikely based on what he's done throughout his career, but I don't know that it's impossible. And he's going to be a giant, giant price in here. I don't know that I want him out right on the lead, but there's a scenario where if it's given to him, I guess go on, take it, see what you can do with it. Savage Battle, I think, is a heck of a lot better than the 20 to 1 that you're probably looking at for a price. I think he's going to go off in that range, and I think he's got a better chance than that to run well, if not actually threaten to win this thing. Savage Battle's very interesting to me. The 3 Say the Word is a horse that, from a numbers standpoint, seems to be trending the right direction for Graham Motion. The most recent run got through the N2X condition down at Belmont Park. 89 buyer, 107 Timeform US rating. The runner-up came back and was the next out winner, so the form is at least holding up. This distance isn't going to be an issue. Another horse at a middling price seems to fit reasonably well in a spot like this. Again, you got to deal with Synchrony, but if you think you can get around him, why not a horse like Say the Word? The 5, Mr. Ritz. Timeform US Pace Projector has him sitting second. I think there's a real chance that he's the one that sets the fractions in here, not Savage Battle. I think Mr. Ritz goes as he did in the Eclipse most recently. I know that was a mile and a 16th. I know it was 2 turns. I know it was synth. But he's done good work on turf in the past. He won the Caesar Stakes 3 starts back. That was at Indiana Grand as a 3-year-old. I think he's a nice little horse for Josie Carroll. I'm not totally convinced he is this good, but if you give him a favorable pace situation, this is a horse that could get brave if he's out there on the front end beneath De Silva. 6 to 1 seems like a fair number on Mr. Ritz. The 6 is Curlin's Honor from Mark Cassie, most recently 3rd in the Connaught Cup. That was a race that Emma, who is also going to run in this race, he finished 2nd behind El Tormenta. El Tormenta also runs on Saturday at Woodbine. Not in this race, though. A Curlin's Honor is an honest horse. He seems like he's taken a step forward in his 4-year-old campaign. You see, they tried him in the Stymie on dirt. Draw a line through that. Don't hold that race against him. Moving back over to Synth and Turf. He fires 2 big shots. He didn't win either of them, the Jacques Cartier or that Connaught Cup, but he's run respectable numbers, and either of those I think makes him a player in here. 9-2 on the morning line. Again, seems like a fair number. I brought up Emma, the number 7. Tough luck loser basically in both of his starts here in the United States. Or I got to stop saying that. In North America, because we're running at Woodbine in Canada on Saturday. The run at Belmont Park and the elusive quality. He was bet down to 5-2. Couldn't quite stay on. Therapist, we know he's a good horse. That was also his first start since the beginning of October. You figured he was going to at least run something close to, if not better than, in the Connaught Cup. And I think he did that. Timeform US thinks he took a little bit of a step backward. The Bayer Associates, they basically said he ran the same race. Lasix go on this time here for Connor Murphy. I think this is an interesting spot for Emma. I'm not against him by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think, given the price 3-1, I'm probably going to lean more toward a horse like Synchrony than I would Emma. And if I want someone coming out of the Connaught Cup, I've kind of made it clear who I want. And then the 8 horse on the far outside, Rose's Vision, goes out for Stuart Simon. Plain and simple, this horse looks a little bit tough, a little bit overmatched from a number standpoint. He's run 14 times. The distance isn't an issue for him, but from a class standpoint and from a speed figure standpoint, it looks like he's a little bit tough to make on paper in a race like this. The King Edward, I think it's a fun race. They're all going to need to beat Synchrony. Am I going to go with Synchrony? Let's take a look at the pick. No, I'm not. Picking him second. I respect him. He's the most likely winner by far. I just thought that the trip was enough for Savage Battle. I was anxious to see where the connections wanted to bring him back. They bring him back here in this spot. I think he's a very, very live chance in here. Maybe he doesn't win the race, but if you're playing any sort of an exotic wager, you're playing an exacta, a triactor up at Woodbine, trifecta here for us in the States, I think you have to be using a horse like this at a giant price. I'm going to pick Savage Battle. I'm going to be betting him to win because I think I'm going to get every bit of that 20-1 on the morning line. The numbers for me, 4-2-7 in the 6th race at Woodbine on Queen's Plate Saturday, the Grade 2 King Edward. You're playing this race, any of the races on Queen's Plate Saturday at Woodbine. Play with DRF Bets. Bets.drf.com is where you need to go for all the latest and greatest as far as offers are concerned. Schedule post time for race number 6, the Grade 2 King Edward, up north of the border at Woodbine on Saturday afternoon, 2:53 Eastern. Good luck.